Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Thriving in 2020 show. My name is Miko Lau, and I'm your host of this online interview series. And my intention and my desire for all of you this year is to create a thriving lifestyle with more time freedom, more money, and a body that you love and feel good in. And on today's interview, I had the privilege to interview Eric Bailey, who is a self-made millionaire and a professional trainer and mentor and an advanced holistic healthcare practitioner. I actually had the honor to get connected with Eric in person last year when I went to one of his in-person events called Master Creator, where he taught us how to create anything we want in our life. And that workshop completely changed my life. On this interview today, we talked about topics such as how working hard is not enough when it comes to success in our life, in our finances, in our relationship, in our health, and how to reprogram our subconscious mind and set up for success in an easy and fun way. And we also dive deep into how releasing weight reduction is not just all about exercising and dieting, but is so much deeper than that, and how we can actually have fun on our journey towards abundance and vibrant health and thriving relationships with other people. So I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Make sure to stay at the very end because Eric has something very, very special to offer to you guys. Like, it's really powerful. So make sure you watch to the end and share this online series with anyone that you think can benefit from listening to this. Okay, I'll see you guys inside the interview. Hi, Eric. Super excited to have you on my show, Thriving in 2020. This is a very special episode for me because I actually got connected with you last year when I went to one of your live events, Master Creator. And that event completely changed my life, I have to tell you. You were so powerful with your message, and we did a session one-on-one with you on stage where you really took me through some deep rooted problems that I have with my mom, and that just completely changed my life. So with that being said, I'm really honored to have you on here and to share your inspiring story of how you become a self-made millionaire and so much more. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So let's jump straight into the interview, and let's start off by talking about your story. So I know that in 1 year you went from welfare to wealthy, and that is a huge accomplishment. So how exactly did you do that?
Thank you. Well, I'll never forget the day that I had to come home and I had just started my business. I had no business experience, and I just had this crazy idea that the moment I quit my full-time job and opened up a business, that I would have this huge line of people lining up around the corner to come and pay me money for my services, right? And that isn't exactly what happened. Because I didn't have any business experience and because I didn't have any income coming in, I literally saw everyone that walked through my front door as a walking dollar sign. And people can pick up on that. And I rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I damaged a lot of relationships. I ran my business out of ego instead of out of love and out of wanting to serve people. And it blew up in my face. And now, I mean, to this day, there are still people that just do not like me at all. You mention my name and they say, no, run, hide, get away from Eric Bailey, right? And I'll never forget that day that I had to come home from the office, and my wife Heather was pregnant with our second child at the time, and I had to sit her down and just, barely holding it together, just say, Heather, is there any way you'll forgive me? I didn't even make enough money to buy food for you. And like I said, she was pregnant, and I said, I didn't even make enough money to keep this roof over our heads this month. And when a man who's supposed to be the provider and the protector of his family has to say something like that, it really does something to him. And I realized in that moment that I had two choices. I could either give up, go back to working for corporate America, just go back to what I had in my comfort zone, or I could let that change me. I could let that light a fire within me. And, Heather, my wife, just being the amazing person that she is, she just looked me in the eyes and said, Eric, we'll figure it out. I'm not going to let you stop. I'm not going to let you quit. And, you know, as cheesy, as sappy as it sounds, I owe every good thing that I have to her. She's the one that encouraged me to keep going. She's the one that encouraged me to take those crazy leaps of faith. And she's the one that just said, okay, we'll make it work. We'll figure it out. And we began to just invest in mentoring, invest in learning things, and began to learn about the role that our subconscious mind plays, the role that the thoughts that we think plays. And I remember just listening to an audio training from one of my mentors that said, one of the biggest mistakes you can make is thinking you can get away with any thought you think. And the first time I heard that, I thought, that's a weird thing to say. What do you mean by that? And he said, when you look at other people as walking dollar signs, if all you think about is getting as much money from their wallets into yours, people are going to pick up on that. They're energetically, that it's not going to feel good. They're going to feel that. And I went, oh my gosh, oh my word. Okay. And so from that moment forward, anytime someone started coming to my office or to chat with me in my mind, I just started thinking, you're amazing. You're incredible. You're wonderful. If I can serve you in any way, please let me. And just that one shift alone actually tripled our income from one month to the next. And it set us up on this path. We began, as I mentioned, to just take major leaps of faith. I remember sitting in a seminar by that particular mentor, and everything was going great. And then the last day came and he began to tell us about what a continuation course that we could invest in and we could sign up for. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, this is it. If I can get this training, I know I can get us out of this financial pit that we're in. And I set up to go sign up. Then I saw the price. It was $5,000, which when you're on welfare, that's like millions, right? And so I went to sit back down and my wife grabs my arm and goes, go sign up. And I went, do you see that price, Heather? I said, Heather, if I had $5,000, I could buy groceries. And she just said, well, Eric, is it right? And I said, well, it doesn't make sense. She goes, how's it feel? And I said, well, I feel peaceful about it. And she said, well, Eric, if it's right, what else matters? And I went, fine. And so I go to the back of the room and no exaggeration, no hyperbole. I grab registration and I'm freaking out so bad that I'm literally shaking and hyperventilating. And my wife just comes up to me again and says, Eric, is it right? And I said, yep. She said, what else matters? And so we maxed out every credit card that we had. We borrowed money and we got signed up for some of this training, and it made all the difference. We quintupled our income within 4 months. We ended up hiring a number of personal mentors, and we ended up increasing our monthly income over 100 times in just that 1 year.
Wow, that is so powerful and inspirational. And I resonate with a lot of the things that you touch on, because at the beginning of my journey as well, going into entrepreneurship, I was always going in with the mindset that what can I get from people? And it's this like constant need, and coming from a standpoint of lack, and that was just pushing everyone away. But I also resonate so much with what you mentioned about your experience of using money that you didn't have to invest in yourself so you can take your business and take your life to the next level. So a lot of people don't have that abilities to do that, to make that decision, to make the move that you did, right? It's so scary when we don't see the means that we have with our hands to make that decision, right? So I want you to touch on two things. So number one, why is it so important for us to go with our feelings? Like if it feels right, then we should go for it. Why is that important? And number two, why is it so critical for us to go ahead and learn from someone who has been there before, get a mentor so we can, go down this path? Why are these two things so important?
Sure, it's a great question. And the simple answer is because unless we've reached a certain level of success, we don't have the logic to get us there. That's a mistake that a lot of people make is, excuse me, they try to logic their way to a new level of success. And as I mentioned, unless we've been there before, we don't have that logic. And so that's why it's so critical to follow intuition. I'm a churchy kind of guy. I'm a praying kind of guy, and I call my higher power God or Heavenly Father. Your listeners, they may call it universe, source energy, whatever it is. And one of the things that we tell people is, if you don't have a higher power, get a higher power, something that you can tap into that's bigger than you, because there was nothing logical about signing up for that training when we were on welfare. There was nothing logical, fast forward a year and a half, about signing up and paying just one single person $100,000 back then, when I didn't have $100,000 at that time. I wasn't a millionaire at that time. And it's just following that intuition and doing what's right. Because as I mentioned, unless you've been to a certain level, you don't have that logic. Now, that's why, again, to answer your other question, why it's so critical to tie into, to connect yourself with those people that are at that new level, because they do. And they then can say, okay, here's what you do. Take this step, take this step, take this step. Let me give you an example. Just in the last few weeks, we've actually hired 2 new personal mentors to work with us. One of them is a personal fitness mentor. As you know, last year I dropped 75 pounds, and I went from 250 pounds down to 175 pounds. But my end goal is 160, and I'm stronger than I've ever been. I've got more muscle mass than I've ever had in my life. But for the long time, I kept smacking up against 175, 175, 175. And it's like, okay, well, logically, I'm doing everything that I know to do. I'm hitting my exercise, I'm doing my nutrition, I'm doing the mindset and things. And so how come I haven't quite gotten to that next level? Then I hired a personal fitness trainer, and he's like, well, of course not, because you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so yesterday I began my first official workout, and I'm like, okay, totally take me outside my comfort zone, but I can already feel that change in my body. And so because I tapped into someone else, I hired that other person that has that expertise. He's someone that has trained celebrities, people to get into TV and movie shape. He's someone that trains people that compete in physique contests. He's someone that is so much more knowledgeable than I am. And so it's someone that he says, okay, you need to do this, you need to jump, I'll say how high. Plugging into those people that are at those levels, because they then can turn around and give us that logic and teach us step by step how to get there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And we were just talking about this before we got on camera. And I said that, Eric, you look so much more slimmer since the last time I saw you. The transformation is just so apparent, so powerful in just a couple of months of time. And since we are talking about this topic right now, I know our listeners on this show is also looking to create better health for themselves on top of, having financial success. I want to touch on this really quickly, because I remember you mentioned this at your Master Creator event, and that was so powerful. You said that releasing weight is not just about the physical exercise that we do, the foods that we eat, but it's something that has to do with our emotions or, childhood trauma, things like that. So can you touch on this topic for us?
Absolutely. And this doesn't just have to do with weight reduction. It has to do with literally every area of life. We call it the 3 pillars of growth: body, mind, and soul. And the mistake that so many people make is they only focus on one, possibly 2 of the 3 pillars. And unless you focus on all 3, that's when you focus on all 3 and incorporate all 3, that's when transformation takes place. We'll use weight reduction as an example because it's very easily illustrated. Just like you mentioned, a lot of people, especially at this time of year, New Year's resolutions, everyone's saying, "Oh, I want to get fit, right? I want to get in shape." And I was no different. I mean, for years, I would set my New Year's resolutions and I'd say, "This is my year," right? And it would usually outlast about 3 weeks. And by that point, the diet and the exercise got really, really old and really boring. And so I would just stop and I would go right back to where I was. And if you ask just about anyone, how does a person get rid of extra body fat? They'll tell you, well, you got to diet and exercise it. Okay, well, duh, right? That's definitely important. But saying that diet and exercise is the key to permanent weight reduction is like saying that the key to a degree is reading a book. You're probably going to have to do that at some point in the process, but that's only one piece of the puzzle. Most of the time, at least in my personal experience, The lack of diet and exercise in a lot of cases is not the actual root problem. It's just like when it comes to wealth creation, a lot of people think, well, in order to get ahead financially, I just have to work harder. I have to work harder. Okay, well, how many people do you know that work really, really hard all day long and they barely survive? I mean, I think of, I lived in a third world country for a couple of years. I lived in Peru when I was 19 until I was 21. And, you know, they are very hard workers down there. They usually work 12, 15-hour days, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. And their average income down there is equivalent to about $200 a month. And so if all you needed to do was work hard and grit and grind, then all of them would be millionaires. And that's only one piece of the puzzle. You also have to incorporate the mindset piece. If a person thinks that they're going to stay poor their whole life, they're probably going to stay poor their whole life. If a person has all these limiting beliefs about their physical health, if they believe, oh gosh, well, it just isn't worth it. Most people that want to, release weight, they believe that the process of doing so has to be one of deprivation and starvation. And, who wants to do that? I sure as heck don't. I don't know about you. And so they're like, okay, well, I really want to be thin, but I don't want to have to go through the process. There's that mental component. Or let's see, I can't remember if you were there or not, but we had a gal that came to one of our events that said, oh, I eat a really healthy diet most of the time, but I just have this one, we call it a guilty pleasure. For her, it was sugar cookies with cream cheese frosting. And she goes, if I could just get rid of this stupid cookies, then I would drop weight like crazy. And so there was that mental component to it. And then, of course, just like you mentioned, there's the soul component, the emotional component. And what we found is that in more cases than not, people put on extra body fat as a way to emotionally protect themselves. It's the same thing with any addictive behavior. Most people don't wake up in the morning and say, ooh, I really want to overeat and put on extra body fat today. No. What happens is most of us go through life and we experience emotional trauma, emotional wounds. Something crazy happens to us. Maybe we go through get into an abusive relationship. Maybe somebody hurts us. And because our bodies are not designed to automatically heal themselves emotionally, most people don't know what to do with that. And so instead of actually going through the process of healing that emotional wound, most people do something just to cover it up or numb that pain. And so some people turn to drugs, some people turn to alcohol, and some people turn to extra food. And so they'll put on that extra body fat as a way to cover up or numb that pain so that they no longer feel it. And pretty soon they've got an extra 50 pounds covering up that wound. And they go, oh gosh, how do I get myself out of this? For example, there was a gal named Rachel who had actually been very, very thin growing up. She had been a cheerleader, but then she got into an abusive relationship. And after she got out of it, she put on a substantial amount of weight because subconsciously she believed that if she was overweight, she would be less attractive. And therefore guys that might potentially abuse her wouldn't notice her. And so try as she may over the years to drop the weight, just focusing on diet and exercise, she always dropped maybe 5 or 10 pounds, and then it always came right back on. Until she got to the root cause of the issue. She identified and healed that emotional wound within her. Once she did, within 3 months, she dropped 80 pounds, 140 pounds over the course of the year. And that's not just true with weight reduction. We see this with finances. There was a gal that she was a highly paid nurse. And so she made pretty decent money, but there was always more month at the end of the paycheck every month, right? And so she went to a seminar similar to what we do, and she goes, what's the deal? Like, why am I not getting ahead financially? I make enough money. And through a process very similar to what we did with you on stage at Master Creator, she realized that she had this massive emotional wound stemming from when she was 8 years old. She said her parents only thought about one thing. Can you guess what it was?
Money.
Money. And she went with her parents to a really nice restaurant one day, and her parents began to argue about how much money they were spending just on that one meal. And her dad stood up to storm out of the restaurant, and as soon as she stood up, he collapsed with having a heart attack. Well, even though she was only 8 years old, she was part of her swim team, and so she jumped down, she began to administer CPR to her dad, who then died in her arms. And so what emotions do you think she linked money with from that moment on? Any ideas?
Pain, fear of loss, just a whole bunch of negative emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. And so from that moment forward, at a subconscious emotional level, she began to push money away. As soon as she got it, she would get it away because she didn't want to have to feel that loss. And so once she finally identified and healed that emotional wound, she was on track to financial freedom literally within a few months, very, very quickly. It's all about getting to the root cause of why we link the process of achieving anything. Again, whether it's weight reduction, whether it's becoming a millionaire or whatever it is, how do we heal that emotional wound of why we aren't there? And how do we then retrain our brains to make the process automatic, to link the process of getting there with high amounts of pleasure? That was the shift that I had to make when it came to my weight. I had to realize, wait a second, what if slimming down could actually be crazy enjoyable, even more enjoyable than staying overweight? What if starting a business and confronting all of the challenges of growing ourselves, growing our company, growing our income could actually be incredibly pleasurable? What if we can overcome and heal those emotional wounds and then incorporate the body stuff, then incorporate the hard work and incorporate the mindset stuff? That's what makes the difference. That's what makes the difference between doing something and actually becoming something new. That's what makes the difference between someone that makes $1 million and someone that actually becomes a millionaire. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when they first got started, they don't recognize that link. They try to work hard, they do all these external things without realizing the deep root source that they really need to clean up and clear out all that negativity in the past in order to let the good stuff to come in. So this is really a good point, because listeners listening right now, they might be wondering, okay, Eric, like I resonate with what you're saying. Absolutely. I have all these like childhood experiences that could potentially left a mark on me. So how do I possibly identify what happened way back when I was 5, when I was 7, and how do we reprogram that subconscious belief system so that we can be set up for success?
Sure. Well, there's a really, really a long way, and then there's a shortcut. The long way, and this is not a knock on this by any means, because it certainly has its time and a place. The long way is go find a counselor, go find a talk therapist, and work your way through that. That can certainly be helpful for a lot of people. I know a lot of people that have benefited from something like that. Unfortunately, according to statistics, traditional talk therapy usually takes 15 years of weekly 1-hour sessions to resolve one issue. And like I said, there's a time and a place for that. That's fantastic. But I don't want to take 15 years to resolve one issue. I want to resolve it like right away, right? So that's one thing you can do. The things that have helped me the most, though, have been B.E.S.T, so the bioenergetic synchronization technique, which we'll discuss here in a little bit, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, and timeline breakthrough. Those are the 4 techniques that we usually use within our company, because combined, that's been what's made the biggest difference for us. With timeline breakthrough is a combination of hypnosis, neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy, and belief breakthrough. And in my experience, it is the most powerful and effective emotional healing tool that a person can use, because it gets right to the source. It allows you to heal and then replace that wound with something positive. A mistake that a lot of people make is they go, okay, I'm just going to eliminate this. But when you eliminate something, you have to replace it with something else, with something better. A person that's trying to overcome an addictive behavior, for example, instead of just avoiding that addictive behavior, they have to replace that that behavior with something positive. And it's the same thing when it comes to emotions. And so for me, it's been timeline breakthrough. Again, are there other tools that a person can use? Of course, there's lots and lots of things, but with us in our company, those are the 4 that we use, because again, it gets to the root cause of the issue very, very quickly. You don't have to dig for years and years at a time. You're able to identify it. Okay, what's the cause? Oh, here it is right there. Boom. Let's heal it. How do we replace it? Boom. How do we make this automatic in our brain? Boom. Let's do it with the NLP and the hypnosis. And so that's what I had to use with my weight reduction, because I found one of my sabotages up to last year was I would go to the gym, usually about 10 or 15 minutes into my workout. I would just go, I don't want to be here. And I would just leave. And then I'd stay away from the gym for like a week or two. And then I go, what did I just do? I totally just sabotaged my process. And I'd stand on the scale, and sure enough, I'd be right back where I started, and I'd go, darn it. And my workouts can be quite long. Like for a while, I was doing like 2 to 3 hours of cardio at once, straight through, because that's what my body needed just to really get the momentum going. And I had to use NLP to retrain my brain to never, ever cut a workout short, to always finish everything that I start. And so utilizing NLP, and it's a very quick process. It takes maybe 3-4 minutes or so, because it's so powerful, so effective. I retrain my brain to always finish. And so even when I'm at, an hour and 45 minutes into it, on the elliptical machine going, okay, this has been a long day. Anytime I get the thought, I don't want to be here. It's that automatic burst of motivation, that automatic burst of energy. Nope. We came here, we finished this. We're going to do this. And I've never cut a workout short since then, ever, in the last year. And people can use this with addictive behavior. People can use this with their businesses. Just utilizing the NLP instead of like, when someone says no, when I get rejected, instead of crumbling and going internally, nobody likes me. Okay, we still do that a little bit, right? But but not. It's just, instead of staying there for a week and sucking our thumbs and poor me, it's saying, okay, this person isn't a fit. Boom, automatically, let's get to the next person, and just allowing yourself that quick turnaround time. Is all that making sense?
Yeah. And I can understand that maybe some of our listeners are overwhelmed by all this like powerful techniques, and that's okay, right? That's why we have people like Eric, who can be here as your mentor, serve as a resource for you to learn from. So, but that's something to definitely study and learn, dive deeper into, and we cannot cover all of that in this 30 minutes interview. But you can see Eric has so much amazing value, wisdom, and insights to share with all of us, and we can touch on his upcoming events later towards the end of this interview, so you guys can continue to learn from him. But to wrap up this interview, Eric, I want to ask you questions about the B.E.S.T technique. So actually, like 2 weeks ago, I was in Pennsylvania visiting my sister and her fiance, and they both practice B.E.S.T as well, and they did a treatment on me, and the effects of that was immediate. Like, it was so fast and so crazy. So essentially what happened was, like, I spent a couple of days in close, intimate setting with my mom. The things that we worked on stage together, me and you, last year, it was like the first step towards unleashing those pain that I had with her, but there was still a lot of things that needed to be uncovered and released. And I saw all of those triggers coming up, and my body was starting to act up too. I had allergy flares, congestions, like headaches, and all of that stuff just popping up. And what they did for me in the B.E.S.T session, the treatment, they found that they identified those anger I had inside of me, and they helped me release it, and immediately my allergies went away. So I have no idea how that works. Can you elaborate more on what B.E.S.T technique is, and like how does it work exactly?
Sure. First of all, who you said it was your sister that practices?
My sister and her fiance. His name is Dustin. Yeah.
What are their last names?
Haribo.
Maybe I know them. That'd be cool. But this has been around for over 40 years. It was developed originally by a chiropractor as a way to have a way to adjust his patients without any cracking or popping. He realized that when he used the traditional method of the cracking and popping and forcing the spine into place, the patient's body would go into defense mode. And he's going, okay, this is kind of counterproductive. We want to get the body out of defense mode so that they can heal a lot faster. And so that was actually the original intention of B.E.S.T. And then he began to incorporate all the emotional and the mind, the subconscious mind shifts with it. And so in a nutshell, it's a way to uncover any subconscious mind garbage, if you will, sabotage and things of that nature, clear it out, and then align your subconscious mind with your conscious mind. Think of it this way. How many people do you know that would love to become a millionaire, but subconsciously they believe that money is the root of all evil? right?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. And so if that subconscious belief is pumping through the person's system, they're going to sabotage anything they do consciously, because our subconscious mind is many times more powerful than the conscious mind. And so what B.E.S.T does in part, along with many other things, is it identifies that subconscious belief, if you will, and it removes it. And again, it aligns the subconscious to the conscious desires. And what happens is, as a person gets treated, more and more of those are uncovered and eliminated. More and more of those are brought to the surface, and more, we call them interferences, which is anything that is interfering in the process of the body healing itself, are then removed, allowing the body to then heal itself so much more effectively. And so in a nutshell, it's a way to, again, align the person's spine without any cracking or popping. It helps to reduce and or eliminate physical pains, emotional stress, depression, PTSD, and it allows the person to, again, become aligned or synchronized to the things that they consciously desire, so that their brain works for them instead of against them.
Got it. Powerful stuff. And is this like a common practice nowadays? Like, I don't really see that practice in a lot of places.
It's becoming more and more such. It's something that is actually taught at multiple chiropractic schools nowadays, but you don't have to be a chiropractor in order to learn it. About 15 or so years ago, they opened it up to literally anyone that wants to learn and certify in it, because as effective and as wonderful as it is, it's also incredibly simple. And so you literally anyone can learn the technique. We actually have a program called the Become Your Best program, which is for anyone that wants to certify in the technique and then learn how to build a very, very successful and lucrative practice utilizing it. We teach people how to build a six-figure practice very, very quickly. We teach everyone all the skills that we actually use and applied to go from seeing less than one person a week to 100 people a week within a number of months, and how to help as many people as possible in the process. And so it's very, very simple, but very, very effective that way. And it's becoming more and more mainstream every single day, every single year.
Oh, that's exciting. So, Eric, there was a lot of things that I didn't get to ask you about or unpack with our audience. So if they want to continue to learn from you, obviously there's still so much to dive deep into, and also potentially get a best treatment from you. How can they possibly do that?
The best way to get a hold of me would be either to send me a message on Facebook. And so just ERIC Bailey, B-A-I-L-E-Y. They can shoot me a message on Facebook. I check it regularly. If a person wants to join our weight reduction group, we actually have a free weight reduction group called Enjoy Yourself Thin. It's all about making the process extremely enjoyable. And we regularly do 12-week challenges where the winner gets $1,000. The last one, just 3 people alone release a total of 110 pounds of it. Fantastic. Totally free to join. There's lots of amazing perks. And again, just go on Facebook and look up Enjoy Yourself Thin. You can also send me an email directly, and I'm happy to send you some complimentary audio training. So email me at Eric, which is ERIC, at feelwelllivewell.com. And so that first part is feel well, like how do you feel? I feel well. Eric at feelwelllivewell.com. And in the subject heading, just say complimentary audio training. And I'm happy to send you one, either a copy of our Becoming a Millionaire training, a copy of our Total Body Transformation training, whatever it is that you personally are looking on improving. It could be relationships. If you want a copy of our Magical Marriage training, I'm happy to send that to you. Just shoot me an email and just say, hey, I saw you on this show. I would like a complimentary copy. I'm happy to send one to you, no charge at all.
Awesome. And I'll make sure to put all of those details as well inside the same email that this interview went out to. So everyone make sure to go get your hands on that. That's a lot of generous gifts coming from Eric that we can all get our hands on and start taking our lives to the next level. And Eric, I know you have an event coming up, a live in-person event coming up. So how can our listeners attend if they are in the United States or even internationally if they really want to come?
Yeah, we've had people sign up from all sorts of different countries. People from Switzerland, people in the Philippines, people in Canada, people in France. I've received messages from people, with the exception of Antarctica, on every continent in the world, of people either that have seen our YouTube channel, read one of the books, something along those lines, that their life has been impacted. But the best way to experience it, of course, is live and in person in Salt Lake City. Our next event is our Master Creator event. No two Master Creator events are ever the same. I'm really excited about this one. It'll be in Salt Lake City, March 26th through 28th of 2020. Tickets to the event are usually $1,297 per person. However, because you had me on the show, absolutely anyone that listens to this and emails me, again, eric@feelwelllivewell.com, subject heading Master Creator, you may come as my guest, meaning I will actually cover the cost of tuition for you. It's just a matter of coming and participating. And so it's a 3-day commitment. Come and be prepared to have your socks knocked off. You know this, we don't do fluff, do we, at those events? It's come, jump right into it, and we teach you how to get to the next level of your life, focusing on what we call the 5 F's of success: faith, family, fitness, finances, and fulfillment. During the event, we will teach you how to become a millionaire. During the event, we will teach you how to create magic inside your relationships. During the event, we will teach you how I went from 250 to 175 within a number of months. Come bring all of your knowledge you already have and let us add to it. Let us help you to become a Master Creator and make 2020 your year. Again, shoot me an email, eric@feelwelllivewell.com, subject heading Master Creator, and let me know how many tickets you want, and we'll get you registered with a scholarship code. You may come as my guest.
Wow, Eric, I just want to say thank you so much on behalf of all my listeners for this generous gift that you're offering. And this was exactly what you did for me as well last year. And that completely changed my life. So highly recommend all of you guys to take advantage of this. It's like almost $2,000 free gift coming to you from Eric. And again, going back to what we mentioned at the very beginning, we have to learn from those who have walked the path before and leverage their success and really learn from them. So you have an opportunity here, and it's definitely my desire for all of you guys to be thriving in financial success, health, and radiant relationships with everyone in your life. So Eric, do you have any last words for our listeners before we finish this off?
Just whatever it is that you choose to do, you can make 2020 your year, regardless of what's happened in the past. Let the past be the past. 2020 is your year. You can achieve literally anything that you desire to do it. Plug yourself in to a mentor. Come to our event. Let us teach you how to do so, and let's take your life to the next level.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And thank you again, Eric, for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.